Hello, everyone. We are back with another incredible day at the Black Women Photographer Summit with another incredible speaker. I am so excited for this conversation with Madison, y'all. You have no idea. For those who don't know, Madison is a visual storyteller from Houston, Texas, with nearly a decade of photography experience. She's covered everything from college football to the WNBA to the NWSL and now the NFL, where she's currently a photography intern with the Green Bay Packers. Madison, welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of our summit that's powered by Adobe Lightroom. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here. This is a really wonderful initiative that you have going on, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, thank you. And it's so funny because it's like I didn't know you didn't have a game today.
Yeah, we play Pittsburgh tomorrow, so we're leaving later today.
I can't even imagine how you balance it all. But again, thank you for making the time. So let's start at the beginning for you. What first sparked your interest in photography? And was it sports from the start, or did that passion come later?
So I say my photography journey officially started 10 years ago, but actually I could go even further than that because I remember for my seventh birthday, my godparents gifted me like a small little Olympus point and shoot. And so from then on, I would basically take that to like any family function, church, anything. Like I would just take photos there. But I was just snapping photos. I didn't know anything like technical, and I was also really young at that point. When I got to middle school, there was this technology organization, and it allowed us to compete and it was a lot of mostly STEM-based competitions, and I've never really been like a super interested in STEM, but they did have a photography competition, and so I took interest in that, and I figured like this can't be too hard. So I remember I started out with my phone, and then I realized how much I loved it, and so I asked my parents to give me a DSLR the following year. So that was uh 2015 is when I got like I got like a Canon Rebel T5 and I just took it everywhere. I used it for the competition. And so basically each year there would be like a theme. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but like they would just have like different themes for the competition each year, like what you would base your portfolio on that you would submit. And so I got to compete through that at the regional, state, and then the national level, which was really cool. So I got to visit different states and everything, competing and meet other people. I did not start off with sports. I used to play sports, so that's kind of how I like pivoted to that. But
I don't know that.
I wait, what'd you say?
I said I did not know that.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, yes, yeah. So I used to play basketball. It was not that good, so I put the ball down and picked up a camera. But yeah, like at first I was just taking photos of everything, like families, like my family at like Christmas events, things like that. Just just photographing the world around me basically. And then I played basketball up until after my freshman season, basically. And then I was also involved in marching band, and so it was just a lot for me to be doing. I had like marching rehearsal in the morning and then basketball practice in the afternoon. And I wanted to get involved in other things in school because at that point I was thinking about college and like extracurriculars and
Mhm.
still it was just hard to do both. So I ended up quitting basketball. I started doing more photography and then I thought about like still being involved with sports as a photographer. So my sophomore year of high school, my dad took me to a college basketball tournament and I just brought my Canon Rebel T5 with me. I still had the kit lens, did not know anything about settings, like to properly capture sports photography. So a lot of the photos are blurry looking back, but that was kind of my start. So I took that was 2018 is when I started sports photography, and from then on, I saw it as like a potential career. And so yeah, now I'm here. I'm an intern with the NFL, which is just really wild to think about. Yeah,
It's really wild, but it's also not when you consider how much work you put in.
yeah,
Um, and we'll get to that in a second.
yeah.
You are from Houston,
Mhm.
which is a city with, I think, such a vibrant culture, but also sports culture. How did growing up there influence your eye as a storyteller?
This is a great question. Yeah, I mean, I started like that college basketball tournament was in Houston.
Mhm.
It was I'm trying to think of the name of the conference, but it was like a conference tournament. And so Texas Southern and who are they playing? University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, they were playing that game for the conference championship. So I was there in 2018. So like my sports photography journey essentially started in Houston. But yeah, I love that the city has a lot of sports available. I mentioned I used to play basketball. So basketball is like, I'm a huge basketball fan and I still wish the Houston Comets, like that original WNBA team existed. And but still, like aside from that, I think it's really cool that I came from a city that had a bunch of sports teams. Like again, I wish the Comets still were a thing, but it's cool that we have like the NWSL there, as well as men's soccer. We just got a professional volleyball team in League One Volleyball Houston, so I got to do some work with them this past their inaugural season. You got the Houston Rockets, Houston Texans. So I mean, you have all of these great sports leagues there. So it's cool that I was surrounded by that. And I love that I had a lot of, I guess, access to it because like I know also getting in sports, it can be hard depending on like where you're from. Like if you don't have a lot of sports around you, like it can be very difficult to break in. So I'm glad that I like grew up in an area that did have a lot of sports around me. I started off in high school photographing like just my local high school and nearby high school events, and then I progressed. I'm really grateful for my progression. I got to intern when I went to University of Texas at Austin. I got to be a student intern and photograph a lot of sports there, and now covering professional sports leagues. So, I'm always grateful for my background and, being from Houston, I'm super proud of that. So, yeah.
Was there a particular moment that you felt like, okay, this is, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do, what I want to capture?
Um, I kind of want to say like that first basketball game I photographed.
Mm,
So I mentioned not all the photos were good, but I decided to put a couple on Instagram anyway. And I went through the team roster and I tagged a few players, and some of them actually reposted it. And so, I was like 14, 15 at the time. And so I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'm kind of good at this if they're reposting it. And so then I started looking more into people who worked in social media. So I would mainly look at like my favorite sports teams growing up. And then I found the people who like were behind those pages. So I connected with them. I reached out and asked them questions, advice. And so I'm grateful for the people that took the time to speak with me and answer my questions because I probably had a lot of questions, just very curious about sports media as a career. Because I feel like growing up, I only thought of sports media as like broadcasting or like I guess
mm,
being on camera. I didn't really think about the sports photography aspect of it, which is weird
mhm.
because I remember seeing like iconic sports photos growing up, but I never just gave much thought into that being like an actual career, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, once I got more into that and just doing more research, and I knew Texas athletics had a great creative internship program, so that was a big reason why I picked UT Austin, and I was grateful to get involved with that. But yeah, I think I realized it pretty early on, but I also, I started photography a couple years before I switched to sports, and I think that was just when I started doing that, like it just became the type of photography that I just was immediately passionate about from the jump. So yeah.
And was basketball the first sport you photographed?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Do you feel like, you being a former basketball player, did that help? Because I was just speaking to one of our past speakers, Justina, who covers football, soccer, American soccer, but she's based in Lagos, Nigeria. And we were talking about just how you are able to anticipate the moment, and there's some moments you can anticipate and there's some moments you don't, and if you don't have any knowledge of the sport, I'm sure it's even harder to try and anticipate. So how did you, I guess, your personal experience within the sport, how has that helped you photograph these moments and anticipate the shot, or does it even matter? Is it still hard for you?
I mean, I think it's still hard. Like the thing about sports photography is that a lot of it is luck, and luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I will say it does help to have knowledge of a sport, so like, I think also just working with the team or like just following the team closely, like you learn like the players who are very emotional, like with celebrations and things like that, or you learn like people's pregame rituals, so you look for those shots before the
Mhm.
game starts, things like that. I do think me like having, played it, I do think it helped me in a sense, but like I wouldn't say you necessarily have to have played a sport to like be good at photographing it. I think just as long as you've watched it enough to like know kind of what's going on, like know the basic rules of the game. I'm not gonna lie, like when I started photographing football for the first time, like I didn't really I didn't really know how football worked. And so now it's like I work for a professional football team. Which is like I'm still, still a surreal feeling. But I remember like when I got hired, like just I mean, I'd photographed plenty of like college games, before, but I definitely took the time to like just do more research on like NFL rules and other things like that, just so that I was prepared. And also, I went from photographing like just games basically to now I'm photographing like practices and like portraits and like other events for the team. So it's not just game action. So that took a lot of learning as well to prepare for that.
No, I can only imagine. And I want to stick with your experience at UT Austin. You know, so you were a student that you were doing both journalism and public relations, right? Double majoring. Um, I think that's impressive. Like it took me a lot to just get through my one major. um, and you were doing, these photo experiences, these internships. How were you able to, I guess, juggle it all? And what advice do you have for those students now, who are trying to juggle an internship, being a staff photographer at the newspaper, at the Daily Texan? And, what advice do you have for students who are trying to, pursue what they love?
Yeah, so I was very involved in college, which was nice because like it got me a lot of experience, but also like it taught me a lot about time management and making sure I'm not like burning myself out. And so I think it is good to get a lot of experience, but also like don't stress about like I guess just enjoy your time in college too. Like make sure you're actually like taking time to hang out with your friends and like go to different events. Like don't just be thinking about school or like work or where you want to be all the time. So that was something that I would, just constantly remind myself, like it's okay if I miss out on a game or if I miss out on certain things. Like my number one priority was schoolwork and, sports, like working in sports and my internships. And I was also in a sorority and clubs and stuff. Like that all came after to me. But yeah, I think it taught me a lot about balance, which is extremely important working in sports anyway, because you work weird hours, long days. So I remember when I was in college, I did some work for college football playoff. And Katie Cavender, who was like, I think the assistant director of branding, I think that's like her title. But I remember I had a conversation with her one time and one thing she told me was like, you have the rest of your life to work. So that just kind of reminded me like, I need to enjoy my time while I'm in undergrad, before like, stuff gets real, I guess. So I would say to students right now, like, yes, it's nice to like know what you want to do early, but also like don't burn yourself out early by like thinking work, work, work all the time. Like, make sure you have hobbies and you're actually like working on those and hanging out with friends and just enjoying time to yourself, taking those mental breaks. It's super important to stay balanced. So I would definitely say that to students who are in that position. Yeah.
And you recently graduated, so if you were to like go back to freshman year Madison, would it be the same advice? What would you give her?
Yeah, I would say the same advice, like just slow down because I feel
Yeah.
like I also, my freshman year was when COVID had hit. So I graduated high school like in a pandemic and I started a new chapter of my life in a pandemic. So I think for me, like I was so worried about like missing out on certain things because of the pandemic. And so I kind of felt like when I got to campus, I had to hit the ground running. But I think I would tell myself like just to slow down, like it's okay to take some time to figure out what exactly I want to do and what I want to commit my time to. So I would definitely still say the same advice. Absolutely.
And during your time at Austin, I know you covered so many sports. You started with basketball, but you covered, I believe, like football, volleyball, track, and more. How was it like transitioning to those other sports? Like, was it harder, easier because you already got some of like the basic techniques down? And how did that variety help you grow as a visual storyteller?
So I did cover a few sports in high school. So like I did football, basketball, soccer. Those are like the main three I think I covered during my time in high school. So I was still like somewhat prepared when I got to UT. And so they also, as an intern, they would do like workshops for us. So like they would teach us like I remember for basketball they did a workshop, so we knew kind of like where exactly we could go, like on the sidelines or like around the arena, like what we had access to and what we didn't. And so like they would kind of give us that insight. So that helped out a ton. But a lot of it was also just, I guess like trial and error, like just, applying to work an event like tennis. Like I hadn't really photographed tennis before, and now it's become like one of my favorites to photograph. I love the colors in tennis. I love the emotion with the players. So, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot by just trying new things and just putting myself out there and applying to work sporting events that were unique to me. So, volleyball I hadn't really photographed before, and that's still a sport that I honestly struggle with. Like it's hard to track the ball sometimes or like know where exactly to focus your camera, but I did a lot of work with League One, and I grew a lot covering that this past season. So yeah, I think a lot of it is just I didn't know everything when I started, and like you will get that experience by just doing it. So even if you don't know how to cover a sport, like the best thing you could do is just try and just just get better every time. Just reps are important. So yeah, just practice makes perfect. Absolutely.
I want to stick with the volleyball because you said it's one of the ones that, is harder for you. So take me through this set here. How did you prepare for this season?
So for me, I would one thing I do just in general is like I bookmark things like on Twitter, or like if I see a cool shot from another photographer, I usually will save it for inspiration, or like sometimes Pinterest, but mainly just scrolling through social media and seeing like what stops my scroll basically. And so I'll save that for inspiration later. Like I like looking at specific angles or techniques. So I really love doing long exposure. I don't think I have any for volleyball in here, but yeah, I think about certain like ways I want to frame a sport, and so I know one of these games I ended up bringing like a 300 millimeter lens to a volleyball game, and so that was a struggle. Like, so I went up in the stands. I do like getting that fan aspect, like being up in the stands, like showing like the amount of people there, and just kind of making viewers feel like they're actually at the game. So that's something I like to incorporate into my shots a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like same thing. It was just a lot of trial and error, a lot of missed shots that aren't published here. But yeah, I think I just got better by I guess like making a shot list for myself, like the kind of stuff I wanted to try to get at a game, but then also just seeing, when I get there, like what works and what I feel like photographing and how I feel like framing the game. So it kind of depends, I guess.
No, no, that makes sense. And I also want to talk about some of those big moments that you've covered, the national moments. You are a part of the social media teams for the 2023 and 2024 college football playoff national championship games, first in LA and then in Houston. What's it like being behind such massive events?
It was a really great experience, and I got to work with some of the most talented creatives like from different parts of the country. Like we all came from different colleges, so it was really cool to like meet creatives. Some of them I had known like just from social media, and others I hadn't met before. And now like we still have a group chat where we talk regularly. And actually one of the girls on the photo team from the 2024 championship, she works for the Steelers now, so I'm actually gonna meet her at the game tomorrow, so that'll be cool to like have a kind of college football playoff reunion. But yeah, a lot of us have gone on to like work in college or pro sports, which I think is really cool. And like, we definitely formed a tight-knit bond, and we learned from each other a lot. And I was really grateful that I got asked to come back on for another year. So yeah, it was just a really great experience. I learned so much because you're not just covering the game, you're also covering like the events leading up to the game. Like they have like Taste of the Championship, so it's like a food tasting event. So you do a lot of event photography as well. There's like a media day for the players. You're photographing them when they arrive to the championship, like where the game is being played. So you photograph them like arriving, and then of course arriving to the game and stuff. So I learned a lot from this experience, and I'm really grateful that I got to do it two times, and then the fact that I got to do it in my home city was amazing. And I remember when I was in high school, I got to cover some Texas high school football playoffs in that stadium, and then I got to photograph like college football at the highest level in that stadium a few years later. So it was a really full circle moment for me.
I love hearing those full circle moments. And these events, those environments are fast paced. Millions of people are watching, tons of moving parts. How do you stay creative and focused under pressure?
That is a great question. I think it's so easy to um like go where everybody else is going on the sidelines. And with football, I feel like it's tough because like, I think about like basketball where it's like you have like they'll basically assign you a seat on the baseline, or like if you're roaming, then like you have a seat up there. But with football, it's like it's kind of every man for himself. So you're just like running around and figuring out like the best spot.
Oh.
So a lot of anticipation. I have missed shots because I wasn't sure like the right spot to be, or just I wasn't like paying attention. So football, I think, is, tougher because like there's so many people on the sidelines that I wouldn't say you're necessarily competing with them, because you're all there to do a job. And what I love about sports photography is that you could have so many photographers at a game, but they all come away with different perspectives from the game. So I love that about sports. So I try to get like I try to remind myself to like get the shot that nobody else is getting. So I'll, challenge myself to go to a spot where nobody's at. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But it's just kind of I guess just betting on yourself and just, taking that leap and seeing if it works. But yeah.
But you know what I love about this? It's like what people don't see in these photos is like to your point, there's like so many people surrounding you. You are like one of dozens, maybe, I mean, maybe 100, I don't know, but like people from media to like TV crew to like you said, other photographers. Um, and you are a woman. I feel like you're a smaller woman, right? Like I think I saw some photos of you. So like your height, plays a factor. How do you like position yourself to get the shot so that these men or whoever don't run you over?
Yeah,
Like
that's a great
no,
question.
seriously, this is hard.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I mean, I was at a game a few weeks ago and it came down to like the basically the final play of the game. And I remember I was like running to the other end zone and this video guy like just came and just like basically almost knocked me over. Like I'm
Yeah,
glad I was
I
yeah, like I'm like we're all running, but like he literally like pushed me and like I don't know. I still don't know who it was, but like I've had a few instances of that where like people like push me to get a shot. Now, like to me, like it's not that serious. Like if I miss a shot, oh well, like, but I'm not gonna push somebody to go get
right,
it. So,
right.
yeah, unfortunately, I have had that experience. I will say it has mostly been men who have done that. So at least,
Mhm.
I feel like women's sports are, always super nice and welcoming. But yeah, I have unfortunately had like those negative experiences, but I don't let that deter me. Like we're all there to do a job. But yeah, I guess I just, I've known or I've come to realize that like I'm not gonna get everything, and sometimes I'm super hard on myself because I'll miss a touchdown or like a big play, either because like I'm editing, like having to like run back and edit and upload to our social team. But yeah, just understanding that you're not gonna get the shot every single time, and that's perfectly okay. So yeah.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, you photographed you were able to come back 2 years back to back. So how did you approach the second year differently from the first year?
So the first year, honestly, like I had done football games at that point, but like I wouldn't say I was like super confident in my football photography skills. Like looking back at these, I'm like, oh, like the way I edited these, like I don't know if I would do that the same thing today. And so I think going into the second time, um, one, I use different gear. Like they have like different camera brands on site that like they allow us to like kind of rent gear, I guess, for the game, which is nice. So I went with different lenses the second go around. I think I just uh I guess I not practiced more, but I guess prepared more for the shots, like the type of shots that I wanted to get just based off of how the first game went for me. Um I knew how I wanted to photograph like the trophy celebration, for example. So I'm really glad I got this shot, like with the national champions in the
No,
background.
these are
So
I keep going back to these photos because I'm just obsessed with them, and I think, what people don't realize, like, there's so much going on in this moment, like,
mhm.
there's so many distractions, um, and I don't mean to cut you off, so you can
Yeah.
continue your other answer, but, um, when everything is going on, the noise, the fans, the people running back and forth, you trying to not get run over,
Mhm.
how do you, I guess, how do you like stay focused? How do you like, because you, like you say, you have that, you think about your shot list, but then there's moments that I feel like on the shot list that you can't prepare for, but you are still noticing these details like this. I just
Yeah.
love that. So what is going on in your head to like stay focused for these different moments, and how long do you stay with a moment?
Yeah, I love detail shots. They're some of my favorites. So I'm glad I found like the newspapers on the ground, like the confetti falling. These I think I was just kind of walking around and seeing the players who were like reacting. And so the one you showed earlier of like the guy, I think he was like jumping on his parents. And so I'm glad I caught that moment. Yeah, like where he's, he has like he's clearly showing a lot of emotion on his face. And so I'm glad I captured that moment. But yeah, I was just kind of just roaming around and seeing like who was most, I guess, like visibly emotional, if that makes sense, but also like trying to not be like so in their face with the camera. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think I was just kind of roaming and just seeing what spoke to me. And I also had a star filter on, so that's why a lot of these photos have that effect. So that was something I tried new for the second game as well. But yeah.
I love that. Are there any other lessons that you took away, in terms of, like, being able to witness, like, these high level productions, like, both technically or personally?
Um, I think one thing that I've learned is to like just kind of take it all in, like just take a moment to yourself, like maybe before the game, um, like just don't be so focused on photographing the game all the time. Like, take a moment to just soak it all in, like the fact that you're covering like whatever game it is or whatever event it is. Like, just think about like what all it took for you to get there. So I think that kind of helps me like just stay grounded and be grateful for my experiences that have allowed me to get to where I am today. So I would just say that just kind of like just take a moment to yourself, like don't be so caught up in like I have to get this shot, I have to do this, like just make sure you're like mentally prepared and like you take that time for yourself.
That is so, so true. Being able to, like, have that second just to be present, like,
Yeah.
fully like, "Wow, I'm here." Especially knowing that it you probably didn't even think you'd be there so soon,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And the full circle moments that you've had both times. Oh, I love this comment, from Elsie. She says, "Wow, I'm inspired, love Madison's work. Taking in the tips and also how to edit my website to showcase my sports work as I've been struggling." To that point, Madison, because I love actually how your site is laid out. Do you have any tips for those who are trying to figure out how to best showcase their sports? But like you said, you also do other things too. So what did you do, I feel, to present this in the way you have?
So I use, first of all, I use Adobe Portfolio for my website. I just wanted to say that because a lot of people are kind of surprised, but that is like through Adobe
I
Portfolio. So
Wow,
yes,
amazing.
yes, I get that through my Lightroom subscription. So
Okay.
it's great for beginners, but I just kind of have it organized where at first I think I did have like a portfolio link where I just kind of showed like
Mhm,
everything. But since sports is like the main thing that I enjoy doing, that's where I kind of have sports as my landing page. But I do enjoy live music. I have some portrait experience as well. It's like I've covered events and stuff, like grad photos, things like that. So I just kind of put those up there as well, just to kind of show like that I am well-rounded as a creative. I have like
mhm,
that's some personal work I did, like either those are mostly like stories I did for college. Like I did a couple of writing
mhm,
assignments and I just decided to put them on my website. But
mhm,
yeah, I mean, I think for me, one thing that's I'm trying to remember who like said, I think I've heard this from multiple people, but some advice I would give is for setting up your portfolio is whatever you want to do, like I guess 8 hours a day, like whatever you see yourself doing like on a
mhm.
daily basis, that's what should be on your portfolio. Like don't put anything in there that you don't want to actually get hired for.
Yep,
So
yeah.
yeah, I just highly would recommend that. Um, Trying to think. Definitely add like an about page with your contact information so people can find you. That's extremely important. So I have like all of my socials linked. I think it's good if you can to like match your username, like whatever across all platforms, just for easier
Oh, please,
visibility.
please,
So
I'm begging you guys,
yeah,
please.
yeah.
It's so hard, like, make it easier for people to find you, have that consistency across all the things.
Yeah. And then I think also going along with adding like a bio, add a picture of yourself. Like I see
Mm,
so many photographers who don't show themselves on social media and then like or I've even had people reach out to me at an event. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I want to meet you." And I'm like, "I don't even know what you look like." So I've had to like ask. So yeah, like I would recommend like making your profile pic or like adding a photo of yourself so people actually know what you look like. And I think just kind of putting a face, like, building a personal brand, I do think it has helped me a lot in my career. So
mm.
I highly recommend doing that. Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, before we got on the call, I was like, I was about to say, "Hey, 35 mil Maddie." No, because I just like I know your handle because it's so your consistency, your brand. I absolutely love it. Thank you for that question, Elsie, and thank you for the advice, Madison. So after graduation, you started freelancing, photographing for different women's teams like the Dallas Wings, Houston Dash, and the LOVB's Houston team. Um, Now I remember this moment on Twitter when you shot you were shooting your shot for the
Mhm.
Dallas Wings and they saw it and they invited you to photograph the game. I just absolutely love that. So tell me more about that. How did you like get started within covering women's sports during that
Yeah.
stage?
I still can't believe that happened. Because I just randomly tweeted out, I was like, I can't wait to photograph a WNBA game one day. And I saw a few people that like I'm mutuals with, and they were saying like, oh, it'd be cool if you could work like a Dallas Wings game. I'd be like, that'd be amazing because like they're the only team in Texas, and Dallas is still like, a few hour drive from Houston. But I was like, I'll make that drive, like I'm down. And so I remember I went out to hang out with some of my friends later that evening, and I came back home and my phone was like blowing up. And I'm like, why is Twitter blowing up? And so I opened it and I'm seeing like the tweet that had like popped off. And then I eventually saw the quote tweet where Amber Cox, who at the time was the chief operating officer of the Dallas Wings, she saw it and she invited me to a game. And so I could not believe it. I was like freaking out. She told me to DM her. We set up a Zoom call. I got to learn more about her and her journey in sports. And I just told her about, my journey and where I want to go and how passionate I am about platforming women's sports. I'm just, being a sports photographer in general. And so she invited me to a game. I got to cover the Wings versus Aces game. And um, I got to work directly with their social team, so that was really cool because they posted some of my photos on social media for that game. And then I actually spent a month, this is kind of unrelated, but like I spent a month in New York from like June to July. But while I was there, she actually reached back out to me and she told me that they loved my work and they would love to have me back like after the Olympic break. So I got to cover the rest of the home games for their season essentially. So that was really cool. Like I did not expect that tweet to turn into that. But it was a really amazing experience, and Amber is an incredible person, and the people at the Dallas Wings are incredible. And Amber's at the Indiana Fever now, and so
Mhm,
we
mhm.
played a game against the Colts for preseason. And so I went to a Fever game. I didn't get to like meet her in person, but I reached out and she told me that she loves like what I'm doing and that she's super proud of me. So like we still stay in touch, and like I'm just super grateful that she saw me and took a chance on me. So that was a really cool experience.
That is incredible, and I think it's just such a powerful reminder to just put it out there,
Mhm.
right? Like, nobody knows what you wanna do if you don't share what you wanna do. Like,
Yeah.
share whatever your dreams, your goals. We were having a portfolio review session yesterday, and I was meeting with somebody who was reviewing her portfolio, and I was telling her, like, now is the time just to put it out there because you never know who's watching, you never know who can connect those dots, or you
Mhm.
never know who the actual game players, the people in those positions will may come across your post and literally offer that extend the opportunity to you themselves, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's just such a powerful reminder to just shoot your shot. Um, for you, I know you've been like very, like you said, passionate about women's sports, and women's sports are having such a powerful moment right now, more visibility, more storytelling. For your perspective, how is that growth changing the landscape for photographers like you?
I love it. I see it as like more opportunities for, the growth of women's sports, not just I guess with like players, but I think about like the media aspect as well. Like that means more photographers telling these stories, like more people getting credentialed to like actually platform these athletes and bring more awareness and attention to the sport. And so I think it's great. One thing I really love is like kind of how sports transcends beyond like what's happening on like a court or a field. So I'm really passionate about like humanizing athletes. So like I don't think of them as just like how well they can kick a ball or score. They're people too. So, treating them as such,
Right,
just
right.
being kind to them and recognizing that like cool, like they have this athletic ability and that they're, playing, I guess, at like the highest level, which is amazing. But also like, remember they're human too, and like they want to be treated as such. Like they don't want to be like idolized all the time. And so, just being kind to them and yeah, I guess just I think it's sorry, I'm kind of like going off on a tangent from what you asked, but yeah, I love the growth that women's sports is having right now. Like I work in the NFL, but I'm still, I love watching like this
Mhm,
past WNBA season was amazing. So I love seeing it. I love seeing all the growth and attention that it's getting. I've noticed like um with I guess like media like in broadcasting, like they're putting the games on ESPN now and like the main
mhm,
channel and not just ESPN too. So it's cool that if you build it, they will come. So I've also I've seen like more women's sports bars coming up, like popping up around.
mhm.
So I think it's really cool. It's really cool movement. And it's been great to see like all of the growth. So yeah.
Definitely. I'm very excited for what's to come. So during that time, like I said, you were freelancing. And as we all know, freelancing can be exciting, but also very uncertain. How did you navigate that period of transition between student work and then professional freelancing work?
Yeah, so when I was graduating, I remember like a lot of people were asking me like in April and May, like, what are you doing next? And I was like, I don't really know right now. Like I had been applying everywhere, and was just getting either ghosted or like straight up rejected. So like I didn't really have a plan like coming out of college and like I think because I had done so much in college, a lot of people like expected me to like have it figured out, but I didn't. And so I ended up deciding to like bet on myself and just start freelancing. So I started putting more of my work out there and I'd already been pretty consistent about like posting my creative work and like keeping my portfolio updated and everything. So I think that helped. So I just kind of started putting it out there like, hey, I'm available for freelance. I'm based in Texas, but I'm also willing to travel if need be. And I would just constantly share my work. Um, so I think just kind of being consistent with that and posting across different platforms, like I would post on Twitter, Instagram, but also LinkedIn. So yeah,
Mm,
I think just kind of putting it out there that like I was available and like, ready. And because I had like samples of my work, like I got reached out to. So like the thing with when I got to photograph the NWSL, like I didn't really have a lot of soccer experience. Like I mean, I covered a few games in high school and when I was a creative intern with Texas, but like I wouldn't say I was the strongest soccer photographer. So when they reached out, I was like, oh my gosh, like I would love to, but I was also kind of nervous. I really enjoyed that was a great learning experience, and I got that gig because somebody referred me, and I didn't even know that they were going to refer me, and so I'm glad that I got that opportunity. So I think just kind of what's helped me a lot in my freelance career is just honestly like connecting with people at everything I go to. Just being nice has helped me a lot. Just kindness goes such a long way. And so I think just kind of staying connected with people on social media, and people who know like kind of what you aspire to do and like they look out for you. And I've done the same for other people, like knowing like if somebody wants to work a certain event or get to a certain sport, like I've put people on and they've put me on. So I think just kind of being vocal about what exactly you want to do. Like closed mouths don't get fed. So that was
mhm.
something I had to uh internalize. But yeah, that helped me a lot with my freelance career and getting started.
What did you learn about yourself as a business person? Because I feel like, we are so focused on the creating, but with freelance, you want to get paid. So what did you learn about yourself in that? Like, how did that like moment, like that turning point for you? Like, I
Yeah.
need to start getting paid.
Yeah, I didn't really know. I think going into it, like I guess the typical freelance rates for certain sports. And so what helped me a ton is that um this guy, I'm blanking on his last name. His name's Todd. He's a concert photographer. I think his username or his website is like I shoot shows, I think. But he does a lot of
Yep,
advice.
yep, Shadow Young.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
The
Todd is
best.
amazing. He made like this pay transparency, or like I think that's what it's called, like a free, like a rates transparency sheet. And so he did it for concert photography initially, like where people could submit like kind of what they tend to get paid for shows and like their set rates for certain things. But then he expanded it to sports photography. So I think her name is Heather Berry. Like she started managing the one for sports photography. So a lot of sports photographers started submitting like what rates they would get paid for like media days or covering games or like salaries, things like that. So that helped me a ton with figuring out how to set my rates. So yeah, that's a huge resource that I highly recommend. That helped me a ton with like figuring out what to set my prices at. And also just kind of based on experience too. But yeah, super helpful.
That is amazing. I just love the fact, within this field, it really takes a community.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, what we're doing is individual nature, but having that village, having people to turn to, people to ask, people who are willing to share that information and not gatekeep,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference in pushing the industry forward. I want to turn now to your time at the Green Bay Packers, where you're currently a photo intern. Green Bay, the Packers is one of like the most historic organizations for
Yeah.
sports. Um, you know, how did that opportunity come about? I'm sure you applied for the position, and so for those who are maybe trying to apply for their photo and internship experiences or whatever, what advice do you have about the application period and to stand out as an applicant?
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely applied. It was very competitive. I know there were a few hundred, like a few hundred people who applied for my position. I landed an interview, got to speak with our first, so I would say a lot of interviews in sports are like usually one way initially. So they're usually like one way video interviews. So that's what I had at first. So I made it through that, and then I ended up advancing to the next round where I got to speak directly with the team photographer, and it was more like a casual conversation, just kind of him learning more about me and kind of my work and my experience. And then I got offered the job, which, I could not believe it when I got the call. But yeah, I mean, I think advice I would say is keep your portfolio updated. And not just your portfolio, but like your social media as well. Like I know portfolios are more professional, but like people do see your social media as also like a way of I guess knowing or trying to figure out like what you're like, I guess as a person, and like knowing your like I mentioned earlier, like building your personal brand is important too. So I would recommend that. Um, I think also like keep your portfolio and resume updated because sports it's so competitive. If you see a job open one day, there's not a guarantee that it will be open the next. It's like even if it says there's an application deadline of a certain day, they will close it early if there's like way too many people that have applied. I've had that happen to me before. So yeah, just definitely like if you
Point.
see something, make sure you're ready to apply like right then because you don't know if that opportunity is going to stay open. And
Mhm.
it's always best to apply as soon as possible. So like when I was looking, I would stay on Teamwork Online. That's like the job platform for sports. I would stay on that website every day, checking,
Mhm.
and then looking at like things like the NCAA job board or like whatever. If there's like a specific organization you want to work for, then just keeping an eye on their LinkedIn or their job platform, like their website, to see if they post anything directly on there. But yeah, just stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I think it's good advice. Yeah.
Walk us through what a typical week is like, a game week, because like you mentioned, you have a game tomorrow. So what is a week like for you?
It changes so much. I mean, what always stays the same is like they have practice, of course. But then there'll typically be like maybe like one or two community outreach events that we do. So like
Mhm.
last night, I was covering an event like a salute to service event because that's like a big initiative that the NFL has. So I was covering that event. But yeah, typically I would say it's like practice for a few days a week, community outreach. So usually like when the players are off, like they're still like maybe they'll be out in the community doing something. So like a few weeks ago we had like a salute to service flag football tournament. And so that was where like a bunch of current service members and then also there was a veterans team playing. So that was a pretty cool event to photograph. But yeah, I mean I think it varies week by week, but what always stays the same is like practice. If we have a home game, then it's easier because like we don't have to worry about traveling the day before and everything. But I photograph arrivals and then of course the actual game action. And then if it's an
Mhm.
away trip, then I'm photographing the team when they touch down in whatever city that we're in. So I'll be doing that later today. Um, but yeah, I mean, what I do love is that it's not like I mean, some things are consistent, but like what's cool is that I have like a new schedule every week, so I do kind of like that as well.
What's been the biggest adjustment moving from college athletics to the NFL level?
Ooh, I think, well, for one, when I was at UT, I covered like pretty much every sport there. I think with the exception of like golf and like rowing. But I basically covered as much as I could on the at UT. Now I'm focusing on one sport and one team. So I think that was a big adjustment for me, but it's nice because you get to like you get to focus on one team, and so it's I think it's kind of I wouldn't necessarily say easier, but like it's a different experience, like where you're working with the same people every day, so you get to know them more and like they get to know you. And so I think it was easier for me to like learn like certain players, like learning like who is like who has a celebration, I guess, or like who is like super emotional. And I think about that a lot when I'm photographing these types of things. So I think that's helped me a lot. I'm trying to think otherwise transit like
Mhm.
the transition. um I do think that's the main one though. It's just like kind of going from photographing a bunch of teams to just one.
Yeah.
um
And, with this team, the Packers, they have such a passionate fan base,
yeah.
and deep traditions, and how does that, like, energy impact the way you capture their story?
Yeah, so I love getting fan content, and some of my favorite things is like hearing stories of like people who come, from all over to visit Lambeau. Like I had never been to Lambeau before, like until I got hired. And so seeing it in person, like it's amazing. Like I remember just being in awe, and like it's so cool to me like when I see people who are like on tours, because they do stadium tours on a regular basis. So it's just cool like seeing people walk in and they're like they have their phones out, or they're just like their mouth is open because like they can't believe that they're here. And like I remember that's how I felt, and now I get to like be in this building every day. So it's super cool, and like I don't take it for granted at all. A couple weeks ago I was doing we had like a fall festival here, and so I was just kind of walking around getting some scenic shots. And this older guy had came up to me and he asked me to take a photo of him. He was with his son and then his grandson, and he told me like this photo is, I want to say he said like this photo is like 50 years in the making, or he like that's something he said like when he first
Wow.
came up to me. And he asked me if I could take a photo of them all like kind of walking, and they were like holding hands. The son and the grandson had on Packers jerseys, and then like he wanted a view of like the building with Lambeau Field in the back. And so, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time where I got to capture that moment. But it's just so cool like hearing fan stories. Like they tell me like how long they've been a supporter of the team, or like if their family, like they've been season ticket holders for generations, which is it's just
Mhm.
super cool. So I don't take for granted that I work in the NFL but also get to work for such a historic
Yeah.
franchise. So it's super cool.
Mm, I
Yeah.
mean, no, I mean, you're telling the story so well. I just love the way you capture every, like you said, detail. And tell me a little bit more about like the gear you use, the technical. 'Cause I mean, I'm looking at these photos and they are
Thank
crisp.
you.
Okay, you can see the
Thank
sweat dropping. And how do you prepare for moments like that? But also, there was a photo here, and it was in the rain, I believe. I think it was raining, and then soon it'll be winter. I'm sure you'll be have to photograph
you.
some stuff in the snow. So
Yeah.
how are you anticipating that, and how do you prepare for photographing in different weather situations?
That's a great question because I mean I'm from Texas. I haven't really experienced some like extreme weather before.
Oh,
So
get ready for that snow, okay?
yeah, so everybody's been like kind of warning me, but I don't know. I mean, so far like we've just gotten like rain during practices. So for
Mhm.
that, like we have some protective rain gear that we'll put on, but like they're still practicing. I remember the first time it rained and I was like, "Oh, they're gonna go inside." They did not. So that was kind of a shock. Like, oh, like I just kind of forgot like where football, I think about other sports that I used to photograph, right? It's mostly inside, so I never had to really worry about that. But like football, like they play in all elements, like they don't care. So,
Mhm.
you got to keep the gear protected. So I have like think tank protective gear. For photography, we use Sony cameras. So, I came from Canon, so that's been kind of learning curve too. But I also at Texas, they use Sony as well. So I had experience with Sony cameras, but I use two Sony A1s, and then a lot of primes basically. So for game day, I'm usually on a 400 millimeter, 2.8.
Okay.
I have a 50 millimeter, 1.2, 85 millimeter, 35, and then a 135. So those are like my main. So all primes, which is also that's been a learning curve for me because I came from using like mostly zoom lenses. I use primes occasionally, but like for my personal gear, I own like a 24 to 70 and a 70 to 200. So it was nice where I could just zoom in or out. But like with these, like you zoom with your feet. So learning like which lenses to put on at right moments. And so I'm still kind of getting the hang of that, but I've gotten a lot better at like figuring out like which lenses I want to use for capturing certain things. So yeah.
No, I mean, you're doing it so great. We have a question here. Um, they're saying, I love your work, Madison. How do you juggle traveling and budgeting? And any tips on traveling with equipment for capturing the sporting events?
Um, so this is actually pretty much my first time like traveling
Mm.
to cover sporting events. So I'm still kind of learning things, but I will say like when I travel, I use like a think tank like airport security roller case. So it's basically like a suitcase, but like it has um inserts for like camera gear. So I just take that as a carry-on on the team plane. So I recommend getting something like that. I've heard from lots of photographers, try not to check your gear if possible. So I know a lot of photographers use like Pelican cases or think tank rollers. So I recommend those. And yeah, I would probably say like try not to check it if possible because like you just like you never know what can happen. So always best to keep it as close to you as possible. But like sometimes you can't. So maybe just track it with like an air tag or something. But yeah, I'm still kind of learning. I haven't really traveled, or I guess like not with carrying like a bunch of equipment. Like usually if like I guess before like I would just take like a camera backpack and so I could just fit all my gear in there. But like now that I'm doing more, I guess professional work and like where I'm carrying bigger lenses and like more equipment, like I've only had that experience like now, like working with the Packers. But yeah, I think just getting something like a roller or like a Pelican case to keep that gear with you and take it as a carry-on versus checking the bag, I think that would be better for traveling with gear.
And we have another kit question. Another person asks, what is one piece of a kit that is not photography related that is always in your kit bag?
Oh, that's a great question.
For me, it's granola bars. I will stay with a snack.
Yeah, I probably say like an Uncrustable. I feel like that's a big thing in like sports photography. A lot of people have like those Smuckers Uncrustables all the time. So I would say that. Um, or I don't know. I mean, I have it right next to me. I'm trying to think. Um, probably I don't know. I guess just like an Uncrustable or like hand sanitizer is a big one. But yeah, I guess those are like the main two things. Sometimes I'll keep a journal, like if I have space, I like to journal and write stuff down, so that helps me a ton. But yeah, I would probably say those things.
And we didn't really touch on this aspect of it, the post shooting, the post game aspect. Um, I asked Justina this, who, like I mentioned, is the Nigerian sports photographer that I spoke to earlier today. Um, and I would love to know what your process is like. So after the game, after shooting, you probably have what, like 1,000 frames to go through. How do you go from those thousands of frames to the few that really tell the story of that day? What is your pro shooting process?
Yeah, so one thing that's helped a ton is just tagging in camera like during the game. So I'll do that and I'll usually like I also edit in game, so I'm usually just importing the tagged photos like during the game and then I'll edit those and send those over to the social team. But post game, I do like to go through everything. So I first go through the tagged photos because we like to get the stuff to the players first. So I typically would go through everything that I tag, but then I'll just go through like all it's like usually a few thousand photos that I take during a game. So I'll go through all of those. And for that, I use Photo Mechanic, super helpful for like culling super fast. So I use that and I'll just kind of rate the photos as I go. And then I'll drag the ones that I rated into Lightroom. And I'll edit. And then usually I'll like end up deleting some in Lightroom as well, where I'm like, this isn't as strong of a photo. And then I'll export those, upload them to the gallery for the players, and send it over to the social team. And then like we also like archive our photos as well. So yeah, I think that's like mostly my post game workflow. And then somebody asked, do I keep all the photos or do I delete the duds? I tend to keep all of them, but I don't know, football, like you're taking thousands of photos, like not just at games, but also practices. So I have started to like kind of go through and like if I see a photo that I know like there's no chance that I'm ever gonna want to like post this or like it really isn't like the strongest, then I'm gonna just delete it. But I typically keep everything, yeah.
And, I want you to give us, like, just an idea of, like, how quickly you have to move with
Mhm.
it. Like, how did you improve your speed and just, like, that efficiency with your workflow? And for those who don't know, photo mechanic is an incredible tool for, like, polling, like you mentioned. And, 4 years ago, one of our first events was a Q&A with, the photo mechanic team of just best practices, how to use photo mechanic. So you can check that out on YouTube channel. I'll also drop it here in the chat. But yeah, give us like a little snapshot of like, because you're saying this like how easy it is, but like how fast are you moving? Because you're saying you're doing this in camera while you're on the field, and then you're also doing the editing on the field too. How fast are you moving?
Yeah, so it's tough. I would like it took me like now we're almost 8 games in, or I guess because we had a bye week, but preseason helped a ton with like me kind of getting the hang of everything and figuring out like when is best to like go run and upload. And also like so I'm doing like the player arrivals, like whether they're at home or away, like when they're coming into the stadium, I'm taking those photos and then I'm uploading those basically in real time to the social team and then also to the players gallery, like if they want to post it on social media before. And then pregame warm ups, so I'm photographing those and then getting those over to the social team before the game starts and like the anthem and stuff, the coin toss and things like that. And then during the game, I'm mainly focused, like I guess first, when we first start, like I'm focusing on like getting, I guess like the more basic shots that like our social team can use, like the our quarterback throwing or like the special teams stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think for during like in game, I'm tagging stuff as I go, and then if there's like a timeout or I just felt like there's not a lot of action going on, then I'll like quickly run over to my laptop and I'll edit and turn those around to the social team. But yeah, it's a lot of just kind of guessing on like if it's a timeout, then like it's kind of like I know that I'll have a little bit of time, but sometimes it's a gamble, and so like actually last game. I went to turn around some photos and then we ended up scoring like a few plays later. So I missed a touchdown because I went back to edit. So that was a learning moment for me. So it's still something that I'm learning as I go. But yeah, it's definitely, a fast pace for sure.
No, I mean, and you make it look so easy because what we see, we only see the final product, and you are just doing such an incredible job. Um, We're almost at time here, but so I want to ask you a few more final questions. I mean, like you've worked across college, women's leagues, now the NFL. Oh, and I also love the fact that on Twitter I saw that some of the people you photographed while in college are now in the NFL too. So it's just like
Yeah.
more full circle moments on top of full
Yeah.
circle moments. I absolutely love that. What big creative dreams do you have next?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, a Super Bowl would be nice. That would be incredible. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes, but yeah, I mean, I just love getting to tell stories and just kind of showing like the human side of these athletes because they're more than just athletes. So yeah, I mean, that's just something I'm really passionate about showing in my work and just growing as a storyteller, and just capturing moments that like speak with people. Like I think about the iconic sports photos that I know of growing up, and like I had posters of growing up. Like that would be a dream to have, one of my photos be like blown up and be a poster in like kids' rooms and stuff. Like that would be really cool. But yeah, I'm gonna say that.
I mean, honestly, I feel like you're already getting there. If you're not there, like there's this one, I'm gonna pull it up now, that I saw, and I first saw it on Twitter because it went viral on Twitter. I feel like you know what the one I'm talking about. But let me pull it up for everybody else could know this moment right here. I mean, getting
Yeah.
all the players, in formation, that is not easy. Like being able to get that
Yeah.
moment.
And this happened during a timeout, so it's also a lesson to just keep shooting even when there's not action happening. Like they were on the other side of the field, and I was using a 400 lens, and I happened to get all in. Like this is not cropped. Like they happened to all start walking towards me, and I just took the photo, and I didn't think it was gonna blow up as much, but I'm really glad I got that frame. So yeah, they actually just put it in our they just blew it up and framed it here in Lambeau, so I get to see it. So it's
See, you
something.
already you already doing that. You already have these iconic images. You see?
Yeah.
No, that is just incredible. That is such a good point. Keep shooting even when there's no action. and this is how you that is amazing. I didn't know it was during a timeout.
Yeah.
Wow. There's another question here that asks about your, you mentioned how you edit in Lightroom. Do you have presets for how quickly you're moving for these fast turnarounds?
So if it's at Lambeau, like I've gotten to a point where I kind of know. I mean, thing is, we have an outdoor stadium, so like the lighting, like that changes a lot of things. So I still adjust things. But I do have a couple of presets. For away trips, I'll typically just see how the light is like pre-game or the first quarter, and then I'll kind of edit for the rest of the game based off of that. But again, if we're going to like an outdoor stadium and the lighting is changing constantly, then I have to like adjust each time. But I guess I start with presets, but I don't rely exclusively on them. Like I'm not just copying and pasting. Like I still go through everything and just make sure it looks good, and I make tweaks to it. So yeah.
Letta here says, "No question, just a super fan of your work," and
Thank
I
you.
am too. I cannot wait because I know you said the Super Bowl is one of the dreams, and, when that happens, I'll be like, Madison, remember this conversation? Listen." I just can't wait to see what's next for you, truly. I mean, you're doing such incredible work. Before we go, is there anything else that you would love to share with us? Any other final pieces of advice?
Um, Man, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but this is actually something that I learned from a webinar that you did with some NFL photographers. I think either
Yeah,
last year or the year
yeah,
before.
yeah, we did a
Um,
Q&A with the NFL photo team. Yeah.
Yeah, so I first of all, I just want to say I think me watching that, I think that helped me get to where I am today. So I highly recommend for everybody watching, if you want to work in sports, go back and find that. But I was just gonna say something that stuck with me from that panel was somebody said like, just be like your kindness can go such a long way. So to add on to that, I would just say like your like the way you treat people will get you further than your work ever will. So just, be nice to people in the workrooms, like don't, be genuine when you're networking with people, and don't just reach out just because you're trying to like get a job or a handout. Like, be genuine in your approach. People can see through that. So yeah, I would just recommend just be nice and be genuine. Like it really does take you far. So yeah.
100%. People, wanna work with people they like. They're more likely to, just like you said, kindness goes a long way, and people absolutely see through that, and, I can't wait to see what's to come for you. Um, we see some I see some great love in the chat for you. I mean, just phenomenal work. That's what Beatrice just said. And again, thank you for making the time, especially during a game weekend. Um, I'll be looking out for those photos for tomorrow. I
Thank
just
you.
absolutely love what you're doing, what you're about, and how you are inspiring so many photographers, so many young women that you don't even know about. And for the resources that Madison mentioned, I dropped them in here in the chat. But if you're not on the chat, don't worry. Just go to our YouTube channel, Black Women Photographers on YouTube, and you'll see that conversation with the NFL photo team. You'll see other great pieces of advice and different speakers. And if you missed any part of Madison's talk, don't worry. You can go ahead and replay it as well. And just stay tuned for the incredible lineup we have for the rest of the day. Thank you again, Madison, for joining us for the 2025 Black Women Photographers Summit that is
Yeah,
powered
thank
by
you.
Adobe Lightroom. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
All right, everyone. See you all later.